Hey everybody, what's up? Tim here with today's SCE. I hope wherever you are doing awesome and crushing it. Thanks so much for watching. Title for today's shoot is Affirmations, Why They're Important and How to Know When They're Working. So you and I both know that our thoughts are super important because our thoughts, when they're repeated over time, form our beliefs. And once we think something and we think it again and again and again, and we accept it as true for us, becomes our belief. And our beliefs shape our identity. And we live from our identity. All our actions come from our identity. And once we're acting in a certain way, and we act that way consistently, we produce those results, and the outcomes then reinforce those actions and ultimately reinforce our identity, or the way we see ourselves and the way we believe ourselves, which ultimately comes down to how do you and I think about us. Therefore, our thinking and our thoughts on a daily basis are super important. And most of the time our thought process goes on under the radar and we don't even take any notice to it. So one of the big things with being able to shape your life in the way that you want it to look and being able to become more successful at any endeavor that you decide you want to become successful at is to change the way you think and line up your thinking with success as opposed to failure, because our life, our projects, our actions, our destiny, everything is going to flow in alignment with our thinking. So one of the ways that we can change our thinking from thinking that doesn't serve us to thinking that does, one of the ways we can be intentional about our thinking is through the use of affirmations. And an affirmation is nothing more than a statement as to what we want to become or who we want to be or what we're trying to get or where we're trying to go. For example, I am super successful. That would be an affirmation. Another example would be, I am super fit, or money flows to me freely and easily, or all my relationships work out, or I am loving and kind, or things always go my way. Any of those are affirmations. And the idea is that once you identify how you want to show up and how you want your life to go, and you break it down into an affirmation, you simply repeat that affirmation to yourself as much as possible. And some folks will even say, and I believe this to be true, that if you can add emotion to it, and you can even create some volume behind it where it's almost a shout or a mantra, it increases its power and potency. So if you're trying to become more successful, one of the affirmations you may want to have is, things always work out for me. And then you simply say that to yourself with emotion, out loud, and inflection as much as possible. Things always work out for me. Things always work out for me. Things always work out for me. And you literally say it to yourself again and again and again. And if you say it to yourself again and again and again, after a while you're going to begin to believe it. It's going to become part of your identity, and you're going to live like it's true, and you'll see results that align with that. So once you start to enact affirmations, how do you know whether or not they're working? Well, there's a couple different levels. Level 0 would be, I'm not doing any affirmations. I'm just experiencing life. I have no intention behind it. Whatever comes my way, I just have to deal with. So that's obviously somebody who's doing no internal work. And then there's the person who sets out to try to do some internal work, but they don't really stick to it, and they succumb to situations and circumstances, and they don't try to push back, and they just default back into their own programming, the old programming that's negative and self-defeating. Then there's a level higher than that, where you're saying affirmations, you're trying to align your thoughts with your best self and where you want to go, and you experience something that's negative, and the initial intent is, oh my gosh, this is terrible, this is awful, this isn't going to work out for me. But you catch yourself and you realign your thinking. You say, you know what, I am more than enough. I can make this happen. I'm successful. Things always work out for me. And you default back to your affirmations. And then you start to tell yourself that message, and then you start to act differently. So you're catching yourself slipping down that negative slope, but you're pulling yourself back, getting yourself on course from a positive perspective. The highest level, the most success behind affirmations, when you know they're absolutely working, is when the affirmation itself becomes your default thinking. So you experience something that is contrary to the way you want to show up. You're saying to yourself, I'm going to be successful, I have what it takes, but you experience something at work that blows up in your face and goes sideways, and it looks like it's impossible. When your affirmations are working, you look at that and you say, you know what, I am super successful. I'm going to figure out a way to make it happen. I can do this. I am more than enough. I'm going to find a way, or I'm going to make a way. And your affirmations, which one time you needed to think about with intention and you needed to think about in your conscious mind, have now become unconsciously competent, and they've become your default thinking, and you think that way automatically. And once that happens, like we talked about earlier, once those thoughts are repetitive and they come automatically, you believe that they're true for you. And once you believe that they're true for you, they become part of your identity. It's no longer something you're trying to be, it's someone who you are. And then your actions are going to align with that. And you're going to take actions that are congruent with that identity and congruent with success. And your outcomes are going to be aligned with where you want to go, who you want to be, what you want to do. And when that happens, it's just a matter of time till you're successful in whatever endeavor you're pursuing. So affirmations are super important because they help us reprogram our negative thought process. They help us change the programming that we've experienced through social media and friends and family and even our own internal voices for days, weeks, sometimes decades. Helps us to shift our thinking to where we want to go, not to where we don't want to go. And as we repeat it over time, we believe it to be true, it becomes part of our identity, and we live from it. And we know that they're working when they become our default. So if your affirmations are your default, you're doing a great job, keep at it. If you're in the level lower than that and you find yourself initially overwhelmed by negative thoughts, but you're able to get back on track, keep doing what you're doing. And if you're not making any progress, what I would encourage you is to double the amount of time that you're using to say your affirmations, double the amount of time that you're spent thinking in alignment with where you want to go, not where you want to go, because you've got more work to put in. But I promise you that if you put the work in and you stick with it, it will work. And it will change your thinking, and it will impact how you're showing up. It'll impact your beliefs, it'll impact your identity, and ultimately your results. So the important thing is you don't give up. Even if you fall down, don't quit. Get back up, get in alignment with it. And if you're not doing any work at all, then, well, you pretty much can't expect your life to change. But I'm sure that that's not true of you, or you wouldn't be watching this in the first place. So this is Tim with today's SCE. Affirmations, they're super important. They are life-changing. They will literally shape your destiny into one that you want it to be, as opposed to just letting life hand it to you. And you know that they're working when they become your default thinking. So don't give up. Don't back off on them. Keep at it until you arrive, and you'll see it changes everything about you. Thanks so much for watching. Have an awesome, awesome day. I'll talk to you soon.